Hello, my fellow wizards, and welcome to the new moon of January 29th, 2025. And with that, we are entering the lunar year of the wood snake. Now, I don't claim to be an expert in Chinese astrology. I do know someone who is, and I'm hoping to get her on the show to talk about this next sort of season we were entering. But I will tell you, I am no stranger to working with snake medicine. And so we're entering this year of the snake. And we are also, this year is a numerological 9 year, which means we're definitely shifting into a place of intense transitions. And, I think it's going to be, right now, I'm hearing things about the spine, actually, right? And if we look at snakes, it's like basically all spine. So maybe this is going to be a really good time to take very good care of our back, maybe strengthen that a little bit. And I imagine, when I think of like spinal alignment, I sort of think of someone sitting there in meditation. Maybe it would be, I mean, it's always pretty much a good time to spend time meditating, but we have a very Neptune influenced time frame coming up, and we're in it right now too. Currently, Neptune is conjunct the North Node. So this is a very fruitful time to be meditating and sort of visiting and constructing those inner worlds that we have. I have an offering that I once did. I bound it up in a book, and each book, each page would link to different videos. And so I've always kept these videos unlisted, but I'm thinking that I might just release this project out into the wild so people can see it. It was called Building Inner Worlds, and it was very much focused on just building inner worlds and visiting them. And there was a really interesting healing meditation that I did that, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to I'm going to list it, and I'm going to put the link below. And it was this like journey where you went down the river. And in my own practice, I work with the river. There's a large river that goes through the city that I live in. And I work with it on occasion as like a bridge to Hades, essentially. When I have like big things that I need to let go, I'll send it down the river with a coin. And I think that basically any river can be interfaced with as if it is the river Styx. So that's an interesting concept that you are free to play around with if you'd like. The reason why I bring all this up is because this new moon, we've been in a very Plutonian time. We just passed the annual Sun Pluto conjunction. And so the sun has come up off of Pluto now. I think is still within 10 degrees, but it's getting close, or like just out of that sort of zone. And currently we have Mercury conjunct Pluto. So pay attention to anything, like maybe there's some like crunchy stuff coming up. But the thing with conjunctions is that every time we have a conjunction, it's starting a new cycle with the planets that are involved in them, right? And also in this new moon, I might pull up the charts in a minute, but for now I'm just going to talk. This new moon is also trine Jupiter in Taurus, right? And of course, the astrology that we use on this show, on this YouTube channel, is constellational astrology. So it's going to match what you would actually see if you were to look up in the sky, which it might not match mainstream tropical astrology, right? But get a star app, look up. You'll see that this is accurate, and we, the community of constellational astrology, are bringing the practice back more in tune with factual reality and the roots of the practice as it was when, like many years ago, when lots of these techniques were created, right? So I digress a little bit. Why am I bringing this up? Why am I talking about Hades and the river Styx and all this sort of spooky stuff, right? It's because we have this Mercury Pluto conjunction right now. And if we peel back, if we take a step back and go into the um, mythology of it, right? Um, Pluto, of course, being associated with Hades and Mercury being associated with Hermes. There is actually a very strong mythological connection between these two. They had a reasonable amount of tales together, right? And that is because that part of Hermes' job was to bring souls down to the underworld, right? He would drop them off at the river, and then Charon, the riverman, would take them from there and bring them all the way into Hades, which was a place as well as a person. But the underworld, right? Bring them to the land of the dead. And so, something really special about Mercury and Hermes, he can go places that others can't. Other gods can't just waltz their way down into the underworld. It's not done like that, right? And he has this ability because he's the messenger of the gods, right? He has this magical little wing feet. He can go pretty much wherever he wants, right? He's also a trickster, a thief, all these interesting things, right? But so there is this strong association between the two. And, Hermes was also who was called when Persephone was kidnapped and brought down to the underworld for the first time. Hermes is who was called to retrieve her. And I'm pretty sure off the top of my head, I'm not quite sure, but I'm just trying to get this video out. I'm pretty sure there are other stories of Hermes traveling to the underworld for, adventures, misadventures, but there is this strong connection. And so I think that there's this really beautiful um, period of time here for us where we can really observe thought forms, right? Because Mercury is also very much the mental realm, our mind, that sort of thing. It's a really good time for us to observe thought forms that are keeping us from being able to receive everything that's truly meant for us, right? Um, there's that saying that like what what you want for yourself is usually like really, really quite small, right? And what God wants for you is actually gigantic, right? And, I don't want that language to alienate anyone. We can, as far as I'm concerned, God is like the source code, right? You can use universe, you can use whatever dang word you want, right? But this idea that like our true destiny is actually often much bigger than what we see, right? But we can get into these sort of ruminating, obsessive thoughts that keep us from like reaching that potential, right? And I want to be clear, like there's so many ways that this can actually show itself. It doesn't need to be in the classic sense of success necessarily. We're all on social media. We see like the girl boss kind of stuff everywhere. Everyone's trying to get to your first $10,000 month. It doesn't and hey, if that's your path, that's totally cool too. But it doesn't need to necessarily be in that way. What I'm trying to say is just that um you we it's often very surprising where our paths lead us, right? And I think that this is going to be a really important time to pay attention to what is coming up for you in like crunchy sort of ways, right? I've been using that word a lot, and like that's a word that I like to use around Pluto because with Pluto, uh, what he wants is ultimately your evolution. And he's not super personal about how he gets you there, right? So it can definitely come about in situations that are quite challenging, which honestly, like at the end of the day, is fine if you can learn to embrace these challenges, right? A lot of, without without the hard times, what do the good times even really mean? You know? I think we all, and this may be a perspective that's colored by the fact that like I'm like heavily Saturnian, very Martial, very Plutonian. My whole chart is very assailed upon by malefics. So maybe this is my particular perspective, but I don't think so. I think that, there is truth in that statement of like what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. I think there is truth in this idea that like the things that challenge us are what bring us to our greatest breakthroughs. Like if you get to the top of the mountain, what's what's going to feel better when you get to the top of the mountain after you climb the fucking mountain, or just like being dropped off in a helicopter to look around at the top of the mountain? Sure, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, it's a great time, but that's not going to be the same as climbing that freaking mountain and then knowing that you did it and you get to the top and you look around. It's interesting that mountain talk wants to come through, right? Because this is a new moon in Capricorn. And it is very associated with like getting to the top of the mountain goats, the sea goat. The imagery that always comes to mind for me when dealing with Capricorn is that, that very primordial, like it starts as a tiny little like single cell floating around in the water. It starts as a little amoeba. It starts to get bigger. It starts to turn into something more. Eventually, it turns into something that can swim. Eventually, it turns into something that gets itself out of the water and onto land. And then, not content with that, it then climbs the entire mountain. So it's the full gamut, right? And I very much associate it with lineage and with um, it's those things that are gonna outlive you past when you are here. It's those things that you are going to be remembered by once you're gone. And it's that kind of work. And this can go in two different directions as well, right? Because it can go in the way of, something really important that feels like it needs to be like birthed through you, some sort of structure that you feel compelled to create that lasts beyond your lifetime. Or, what do we remember the most? We can have the impact that we have on other people, how we made other people feel can also be a form of, what's the word I'm looking for here? But that can be something important that you leave behind, right? How hard you loved people. That's okay. That's a perfectly fine it's a perfectly fine, great work as well. So yeah, I'll share the charts really quick. We have we have something going on with Mercury sort of throughout. If we look at the new moon here, right? Yeah, they're still within 10. So we've got the sun moon conjunction right here, as all new moons are. And then right at the beginning, we have this Mercury Pluto conjunction. And up here we have the Neptune North Node going on. So I think that we really have the capacity to make beautiful, gorgeous strides towards our true path in life if we are willing to have a rather tremendous amount of faith and certainty and um not cling to things. If we hop to the full moon, look at that. Mercury is still involved here in a conjunction with the sun opposite the moon, because all full moons are moon opposite sun, right? And so I do think there is this interesting story happening of sort of being the traveler, being the magician this month, going into underworld type places, whether that is to retrieve something that was lost or whether it is to escort something to the river that you're ready to let go of, right? How can we practice non-attachment? How can we practice non-attachment while also still working towards our dreams and goals, right? We got to go to the dreams. We got to it's classic like Pisces, Neptune type stuff. Delulu is the Salulu. We have to be able to believe that there is something better. We have to be able to believe that like everything that wants to be born within our heart can find a place here and to love it and to nurture it into being. And while doing that, turning off the noise and being willing to have certainty that um, like we live in a benevolent universe, that we will be caught, that there is something waiting for us. And if we can just listen to those whispers, if we can believe in the dream, if we can move towards that, if we can be willing to let go of, and what I'm hearing here is like, if we can be willing to let go of, but with honor and with respect, everything that isn't right for us anymore. We don't need to reject something when we're ready to let it go. We can send it down the river with its full due, with its coin, knowing that it nourished us when we needed it. We don't need to reject something to let it go. We can still love it. We can still love it and let it go. Yeah. That's most of what I have to say on that. I think I'm going to drop some links um, tonight. I don't know if you'll be seeing this today. I'm talking to you on the day of the actual full moon, the 29th of January, 2025. I'm doing a group working that is very much in tune with everything that I've talked about today. That is going to be it's an abundance working that I started last month, and coming up to this month I was like, oh, this isn't actually done. I'm going to work this until springtime, until I send it down the river, because like I said, this is what I do. I work with the river. We'll send it down as an offering and like funeral rite to everything in like side of us that keeps us um not small, but keeps us from like listening to the whispers and being willing to have that trust and that love and that faith to walk our actual path and to, leap into the unknown sometimes. Sometimes that's what needs to happen, right? So I'll put the links down below. You can join just by putting your name in, or I've got spots for two little mini readings that are going to be focused on pathways and blocks to abundance. So I'll put the links below, and I would love if you wanted to join. I'm so honored that people choose me to do this work. It is truly a blessing. And that's all I have to say to you. I hope that this new moon, if it brings you challenges, you can see the possibility for expansion within them, right? We do have a trine to Jupiter. There is good things happening here. We've got access to really good things right now. And yeah, that's it. May everything that was said here today speak only the highest good into your life. I love you all. Good night.